So the Site C dam would be a third dam on the Peace River. It'd be an earth-filled dam. It would be approximately a kilometer across from the north bank, which is the Fort St. John side, to the south bank, which is the Chetwynd side. It would be 60 meters high. Water would come up 50 meters, 150 feet. And it would have a generating station aligned downstream with 6 generators of 183 megawatts a generator, dual powered spillway, and then a passive spillway in case for some reason the dual powered spillway was out of service. Tonight we're doing a public open house to talk to people about what construction activities they can expect to see us do in the first year and the sequencing of the construction activities for the project over the 8-year construction period. And we're here to answer people's questions. So we have a number of subject matter experts here. So they'll talk about varying aspects of the project. And then the other thing we're looking for from people is their input in regards to what they want to be informed about related to the project and how they would like us to do that. So is that advertising, is it emails, is it the website, and we're looking for their input on that. Most frequently asked questions certainly would be things like when do you start construction activities, what sort of things will you be doing, what type of jobs will be available, what are the business opportunities, what sort of impacts will there be to my community, what are you using the electricity for, where will the electricity go, what type of impacts are there to not only my community but to the Peace River Valley, what about impacts to fish, how will I be able to use the reservoir, will the reservoir move very much? So there's lots of questions. It really depends on who's asking the question and what their interests are. We have here is the preliminary construction schedule. It's broken down into some main sections of construction activities. So you talk about the dam site, we talk about the roads and highway improvement, the reservoir area and impact to the Peace River, transmission lines, the Hudson Hope berm. So there's different pieces, and then the different bar graphs show you when activities will start. All the information that is here tonight on poster boards is available off of our website, which is www.projectsitec.com. The projected cost to build a project is $8.8 billion, and that's for everything. It includes Highway 29 realignment, it includes consultation costs, the construction costs, carrying charges. So it's everything included. So the reason we're looking at building this facility is because there's a growing energy demand in British Columbia, and primarily based on a 20-year forecast of population growth of over 1 million people over the next 20 years. And also economic development being driven by mining, forestry, and potentially LNG. So it's for domestic use. Some of the energy on off-peak, which would be not the winter months, but during the summer, there's a potential, like we do right now, to do some exporting of additional electricity to other markets like Alberta and the western US grid. It really depends on the year, what the demand is, and what the water supply is available. So it can really vary. Some years BC Hydro is actually a net importer of electricity, so it might be nothing. And in other years we could be exporting 3,000 gigawatt hours of energy, and that's from BC Hydro's system as a whole, not just this project. So this display board you see in front of you actually shows the project area and the different project components. The project is located 7 kilometers from downtown Fort St. John. You see the dam site area. The dam is located just below the confluence of the Peace and the Moberly River. There would be a 500,000 volt switch yard, and then a 500,000 volt transmission line that would go back to the Peace Canyon Dam here. So we have to take out the 2 existing transmission lines and replace it with 2 500s. Another project component is the realignment of Highway 29. There's 6 sections of Highway 29, about 30 kilometers, that needs to be realigned. The highway actually stays in the valley, and the sections that need to be realigned are near Cache Creek, Halfway River, Farrell Creek, and Lynx Creek. And then the other part of the project is a berm at Hudson Hope to protect the escarpment at Hudson Hope. It's about a 1.8 kilometer berm, and it would be approximately 10 meters high and would protect the escarpment from the rise of the reservoir. The reservoir would on average double to triple the river width. In some places like Bear Flat and Halfway River would be wider at about 4 or 5 times wider. About 2 to 3 days worth of water storage in the reservoir, because all the storage is in Williston Reservoir behind the W.A.C. Bennett Dam, and there's 2 to 3 years worth of water here. Another reason we're looking at the project is you get 1/3 of the capacity, 1,100 megawatts, and 1/3 of the energy, 5,100 gigawatt hours a year, than you do from W.A.C. Bennett Dam, but you use a reservoir that's 1/20th the size. What we have here is information related to the dam, the generating station, and the spillways. Information talking about what it is that will be constructed. The dam feature the powerhouse with the generators, the 6 generators of 183 megawatts each for 1,100 megawatts, the dual-powered spillway, and then the auxiliary spillway. And so there's some information related to the types of structures that will be there, as well as the anticipated timeline for the type of work that will begin. Activities in year 1 will start with mobilization to site. We're looking at starting mid to late July of this year. Mobilization to site preparation on the north bank, construction of access roads on the north bank, some clearing on the south bank side for preparation activities. We'll also be upgrading the public roads. Those are with the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure to upgrade the Old Fort Road, the 240 road, the 269 road, and the 271 road. This particular board shows the 85th Avenue industrial lands, which BC Hydro purchased a number of years ago. It shows the location of the 85th Avenue lands, as well as a conveyor. And the reason BC Hydro purchased these lands, for a couple of reasons. The first is as a laydown area for materials, but also for the materials for the impervious core of the dam, the fine materials. And those materials are almost perfect in moisture content, don't need to be separated at all. We would transport them down by electric conveyor belt down to the dam site, where they would then be transported and placed on the dam. This board talks about the Peace River and the reservoir area and the construction activities that will be included. It's important to note that the reservoir area will be cleared. All the merchantable timber will be removed. That's about 1.6 million cubic meters of timber. The non-merchantable, most of it will be removed. Some will remain for fish habitat and for slope stabilization. It talks about the clearing work and the anticipated timeline for that clearing work to occur. The reservoir, when filled, the movement on the reservoir will be 1 meter, which would be the flattest reservoir operation in the 30 facilities that BC Hydro operates. This board shows information about worker accommodation. There will be a worker accommodation camp on the north bank, on the Fort St. John side. It would be a 1,600 person camp with the ability to take up to 2,200 workers. We do have a plan to house people in town, so we're also building 40 housing units in Fort St. John, and also looking at accommodation in long-stay RV sites. And we've been working with the District of Taylor to create 20 long RV sites down at Peace Island Park. So the camp itself will be, this camp near Fort St. John will be fully contained. It will have its own water and sewer. It will have its own medical site. It will have Wi-Fi, a recreation center, will be fully catered. So it has to, in today's world, appeal to the workers, and if you don't have good accommodation, you have trouble keeping your workers. So that's the plan, and this board contains more detailed information about the worker accommodation. Worker accommodation site preparation will begin this year, and then the camp will be constructed in place ready for next year. The next two boards talk about the benefits and the works that we've been doing with communities. We have a legacy benefit agreement with the Peace River Regional District and its member communities, City of Fort St. John, Taylor, Hudson Hope, and the others. That's $2.4 million a year over 70 years indexed to inflation, and the funding formula is determined by the Peace River Regional District. We will be building 50 additional housing units in town, 10 for affordable housing, which will turn over right away to the city for determination of affordable housing. And we'll also be looking at a daycare center. We will be covering additional policing costs for the project, and we'll be funding road upgrade as well. So there's a number of benefits that we've been discussing with the communities, and the essence of what you see from that is a result of our discussions. Additional things that we're looking at doing, $200,000 community recreation fund for the reestablishment of recreation sites along the reservoir. We'll be putting in 3 boat launches, one at East Cache Creek as you come down by Bear Flat, one at Lynx Creek to replace the one that's flooded, and then there'll be a car top carrier launch on the berm at Hudson Hope as well as a dock, so it'll be a destination location. We're trying to increase the skills training in the area. We provided $1 million to Northern Lights College to help develop skills and trades, technical skills. We've also provided funding to Northern Opportunities, $184,000. We're a partner with them. $100,000 to the Northeast Native Advancement Society, and $175,000 to sponsor counselor as well. And I mentioned the regional legacy benefit already for the regional district, so this reinforces that. So this board lays out the type of jobs that will be required. This is not an inclusive list, but it gives you an idea of the types of jobs that will be there. Some of these jobs will be there over the course of the project. Some of the jobs will come in early and leave early. Some of the jobs will come in later. So we're looking for technical people, we're looking for tradespeople, truckers, laborers, a wide array of different types of jobs. So if people are looking for employment on the project, our website's the best place to go, and there's a listing on our homepage about job opportunities. This board talks about the business opportunities. We've been doing a number of things since 2011, doing business-to-business liaison meetings. Last year, we actually did business-to-business sessions where we connected our preferred proponents, or shortlisted proponents, with local suppliers. So what we're trying to do is get local regional businesses and employees involved and working on the project. So local, regional, then provincial, Western Canada, and we'll see where it goes after that. This board shows the public road improvements on the North Bank, road improvements to 271 Road, up to Withrich Quarry, where we're going to be getting rock. It's an existing MOTI quarry, and that's for armoring of the coffer dam and for roads, the river road. It'll be a widening of the road to MOTI standards, which will include 1.8 meter shoulders on either side of the road. Same thing on the Old Fort Road, a widening of the road to MOTI standards with shoulders, paving of the 240 road, which is gravel right now, paving of the 269 road on the bottom end, down to the entranceway of the security gate for the project. And then the corners will have lighting at each one of the intersection corners. I won't want to speak for the city, for the District of Hudson Hope and the other communities. What I will do is just very briefly, and it won't be everything that they have told us that they're concerned about. Generally speaking, the impacts to the city of Fort St. John and concerns relate to the socioeconomic impacts of the project. About having a 1,600 person workforce and a major infrastructure project on their doorstep, even though it's in the Peace River Regional District. Potential impacts to healthcare services in the city, to policing resources, to potentially a water and sewer infrastructure, even though we'll be self-contained. Workers coming into town and using the facilities in town, and the impact to city and regional district resources in the community, like the recreation center. So their concerns, and traffic volumes, for example. So they have concerns about things like that. For the District of Hudson Hope, they have concerns related to the impacts of the project in regards to the reservoir and the reservoir operations on the community. There's an impact because of the reservoir on lands and properties that they will no longer have available for taxation purposes. And we also directly impact things like water infrastructure. For Chetwynd, concerns really lie around the movement of materials for the riprap, for the armoring of the dam, from the West Pine Quarry. So it'll move out of the West Pine Quarry either by road or by rail. So they're concerned about the number of rail cars that might come through town or the number of trucks that might come through town, the effect that will have on the community. They're also interested in making sure that there's business and job opportunities for the community. With the District of Taylor is interested or has concerns related to potential water impacts. During construction, will there be a decrease in the water quality due to sediments? Will the water temperature go up? What will the water quality and volumes be like once the project is in place and is operating? So it really kind of focuses around those sorts of things. And we've been working with the communities. We have mitigation community agreements with the District of Chetwynd and the District of Taylor to address those concerns. We have an understanding in principle with the City of Fort St. John, and we're just putting that into legal format. And so we'll have that out publicly, I would think, sometime in the near future. And then we're presently working with both the Regional District and the District of Hudson Hope in regards to formalizing the agreements with them. So we're talking to them. We're not yet completed that process. With a project related to the reservoir, there are impacts on properties. So over the whole 83-kilometer length of the project, there are 120 properties holdings that are impacted. That's not people, that's property holdings. There are 30 residences that are approximately 30 residences directly impacted. Out of those 30 residences, approximately 10 we believe can stay, but we need to be on the property and do some geotechnical work to confirm that there isn't a risk with them staying there. And with approximately 10, we know that they can't stay there. They might have limited ability to use some of the property, but they will have to move. They do have other property they could move onto if they chose to do that. And then with approximately 10, there's no place for them to go. They're impacted either by the reservoir or the road highway realignment. This particular board contains information about staying informed about the project, but there's other ways to stay informed. We would encourage people to go to our website. There's lots of information there. We do have other locations. They can phone us if that works for them. There's a 1-877 number. You can send us an inquiry to sightsee@bchydro.com. We will be putting out advertising, informing people about the activities. We'll continue to do things like mail drops directly to people's homes so they know what's going on when there's major activities. The other thing I'd like to let people know about is that we do have job fairs and business opportunities that we'll be doing at the end of July. We'll be doing job fairs in Fort St. John, Chetwynd, and Tumbler Ridge. And those job fairs are open to every community and Aboriginal communities. We would encourage Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people to come out, attend the job fairs. We really would like to see you working on the project. And that's what they're there for. And it's the same with business opportunities. We're promoting local, regional, Aboriginal business working on this project. We really want to see them involved. So you have to be competitive, but we would certainly like to see you bid on the project. We want to help you make the connection with our preferred proponents. Support for the project remains strong. We just recently released a poll that shows provincially the support for the project is 81%. So that's 59% of people who support the project, or an additional 22% who can support under certain conditions. On a regional level, that support is 73%, with 51% of the people who can support the project directly, and an additional 22% who can under certain conditions. So the support for the project remains strong. There's a lot of interest in regards to employment and business opportunities.
The Site C Clean Energy Project will be the third dam and hydroelectric generating station on the Peace River, about 7 kilometers southwest of Fort St. John. Located downstream from BC Hydro's two existing hydroelectric facilities, Site C will use water already stored behind the Bennett Dam to produce 35% of the power, with a reservoir 5% of the size. In addition to activities at or near the dam site, Site C will include a 77-kilometer transmission line, the realignment of up to 30 kilometers of highway, and shoreline protection measures at Hudson's Hope. Site C will provide 1,100 megawatts of capacity and about 5,100 gigawatt hours of energy each year, helping to meet BC's growing electricity needs. The project is designed in accordance with international and Canadian safety practices and to the recommendations of the Canadian Dam Association. It meets current seismic, safety, and environmental guidelines. Construction of Site C is scheduled to begin in summer 2015, with project completion in 2024. Construction activities will start with the clearing of the dam site area and the construction of access roads. Worker accommodation will be built to house an average of 800 people in each year of construction, with a peak of 1,700. The first step in the construction of the main dam is to build cofferdams on the north and south banks to confine the river to its main channel. This allows for construction activities to begin behind the cofferdams on each side. Work will then begin on 2 diversion tunnels, which will eventually divert the river around the dam site to allow for construction in the main river channel. A temporary bridge will be built for early construction access across the river. The steep north bank above the dam site will be flattened and stabilized over a period of about 5 years. Following completion of the South Bank cofferdam, work will begin on a large concrete buttress that will support the valley wall and provide a foundation for the generating station and spillways, improving stability and providing seismic protection. Construction of the north and south portions of the Earthfill Dam will then begin, as will construction of the powerhouse atop the completed segment of the concrete buttress. The diversion tunnels will then be opened to provide a path for continuous water flows downstream around the dam site. Work will then begin on larger upstream and downstream cofferdams that will redirect the river through the completed diversion tunnels, allowing a dry construction area to build the central portion of the Earthfill Dam. A substation for Site C will be constructed, and 2 new 500 kilovolt transmission lines will connect to the existing Peace Canyon substation. Work on the Earthfill Dam will continue in parallel with the beginning of spillway construction, an important safety feature that allows the passage of large volumes of water from the reservoir into the river channel downstream. Construction of the approach channel, which carries water from the reservoir to the power intakes and spillway, will also begin. Work on the power intakes and penstocks will continue, and installation of the turbines and generators will begin. Construction of an auxiliary spillway will then be undertaken, which allows water to pass safely in the unlikely event of power loss. With the Earthfill Dam, power intakes and spillways complete, and following the clearing of the reservoir area, the reservoir will be filled over a period of approximately 3 months. It will be, on average, 2 to 3 times the width of the current river. The first turbine and generator will then be connected to the substation and will start producing electricity, with the remaining 5 units coming into service in the following year, completing the Site C project. With its long life of over 100 years, Site C will provide clean, reliable, and cost-effective electricity for generations to come. To learn more, visit sitecproject.com.
My name's Jordan. This is Liam. This is my son. I'm definitely just trying to get as much information as I can. I was very curious about the road over top of the dam and if it's just going to be a service road. And I think I'm a little late on changing that road or whatever, part of the consultation. I think all the planning's already done, but I was definitely curious about that. But I picked up every brochure I could, just looking for as much information as I can.
Did you get any answers that you were looking for tonight, though?
Yeah, they weren't the answers I wanted, but I got my answers. Oh, I'm totally for it. I love having things move ahead, keep going. I don't know, I think it's cool. This guy wants a lake in the future.
Now, do you work and live in Fort St. John?
Yes, yeah, I'm from Fort St. John, and I've done multiple different jobs around Fort St. John. So it's already given us some work. I've already hauled water towards some of the things that they've been doing down the dump road. So.
As you know, I took a neutral stand on Site C right from the start. The biggest thing with me was I always wanted to, I put forward a paper. It had 14 position points on it, and I made those up in back when Gordon Campbell came up to announce that they were moving to stage 3. So I'm very, I want to make sure that the things that I've got on my paper, I'm watching that very closely, and I want to make sure that what's there, a lot of them get presented for the community. So I'm watching that closely and monitoring it, and actually it's working out quite well. Hydro has agreements now with the Peace River Regional District. They've got an agreement with Taylor. They're working on the one with Fort St. John. They're working on the one with Hudson Hope. And I think they're going to get to where they have to go with those communities, and that's what I'm very hopeful of. The end of the day, are we going to be ready for this project? I don't know if we are or not, to be honest with you. We've got social issues, we've got educational issues, we've got health issues, as you're well aware of, and we want to make sure that we're positioning ourselves so that we can look after those issues as we move forward as well. So, that's what the communities are talking to BC Hydro about. That's what I'm certainly keeping them well in the same discussion line. And at the end of the day, hopefully it works out for us all, and I think it probably will.
So you think all these things, or most of them, will be addressed before they start building?
They're being addressed now as we speak. I think you're already seeing some of the activity, like the work that's going on in Taylor, for example. That's part of the BC Hydro discussion. They're putting a new intersection in Taylor and putting the traffic control there, and all the lights that you're seeing on the highway all through Taylor. That's all part of their work, and so that work is already starting. So I think the community benefits that we're going to see, I think they're good. We've already seen some money going into the Northern Opportunities from BC Hydro. We're going to see some money going into some of the local charitable organizations, and I think they're all looking forward to it, and that's going to be beneficial to them. So, and I think Hydro is being pretty flexible. They're actually, when a new thing is brought up to them, they're certainly working with the community, trying to alleviate whatever problems they can. It seems like a good turnout. I just came. I wanted to see, I like the way that they're doing their stuff. Each segment is broke down so you can actually see a particular portion, and get a little more detailed information on the portions. I've received lots of high-level briefings, and I know the high-level stuff, but it's when you get right down to how is this road going to be redesigned, and how is this going to affect everybody during that time, and that's what I'm interested in, and that's what I'm seeing here tonight. So from that standpoint, I'm happy with what I'm seeing.
Yeah, so I'm president of the Peace Valley Landowner Association.
Now, how is this dam affecting you and your family?
Well, we would lose our home and our home site and almost all of our farmlands. So yeah, we would be affected quite a bit ourselves personally. And we run a campground there. We would lose that, and we would lose our log building site where we build log homes as well for a living. So
Is there an area that you can still move to?
it was pretty sketchy. We have some other property that's not. But you got to realize the flood impact lines from this reservoir go way back some places, and so it'd be a little scary to move back on some of that higher land because some of it's predicted to slough into the reservoir. So that's not really an option. My number one question, of course, is when do they actually plan on starting? And I sense there's no exact date yet picked, but it sounds like later this month, maybe late in the month. But And I was just trying to get a sense of what they actually plan on doing, and it sounds like to me it's a pretty soft start. Like there'll be no in-river work or no work done on the dam, building a dam. It sounds like it's just going to be some prep work, like building a campsite, a bit of road access, and a bit of clearing at the dam site, but that's it. So the sense I kind of get is they're doing a soft start on this. Because of the pending decisions coming from all these court cases. I would hope that's what they're doing anyway. Oh, well, my wife's family's been there since the 40s, and we're living in my wife's grandfather's old house, and he bought it from the original settlers that came there 100 years ago. So so quite a bit of history there, and I mean, it's a young history in this province, but of course, and then we see evidence all the time of the old history. Every time, like this year while I was seeding, I picked up an arrowhead right on the ground again. Like we're always finding artifacts, stone artifacts from early man in the valley. Yeah. Well, we're not ready to go there in our mind frame. There are so many things coming up against this project. I'm still quite confident this project will never get built. Just in the last week, some of the issues that have come up, the Greater Vancouver Regional District overwhelmingly voting to a motion for the government to put a delay on this and have it reviewed properly like it should have been in the first place, not just by the BC Utilities Commission, but the Agriculture Land Commission. UNESCO, the environmental branch of the UN, is calling on the federal government not to do any action that endangers the Peace Athabasca Delta, including the hydro projects on the Peace. Just today, the Peace River Regional District voted to call on the Premier to delay this project and let the court cases run their course first. So. And our own analysis has shown that would save the taxpayers and ratepayers of this province hundreds of millions of dollars to do a delay. So there doesn't seem to be much reason why we shouldn't be doing that and getting it right in the first place. This is the 10th annual Paddle for the Peace, and it was obviously a reaction to the threat of Site C, and it's mainly a fun event to bring people out to the river so they can appreciate it, and it is a protest event, so people can voice their opinions against the building of Site C Dam. Other than, I think at the end of the day, Site C will never be built.
I am just overwhelmed with the turnout. I was really worried this morning. We had thunderstorms and hail in the forecast. We did have rain, and the cars just kept coming, and the canoes just kept launching, and there were lineups off the highway to get in. So I am just so thrilled with the steadfast support that we have from so many people, hundreds of people here today. I heard that we had 271 watercraft launched through the event. I know that we have hundreds more people here now at the takeout, welcoming the people off the water and anticipating the speakers that we have lined up for this afternoon, which includes David Suzuki. Our organization, and I think I speak for almost everyone who supports our campaign to stop this dam, is that we just can't believe that the government absolutely refuses to listen to numerous experts, renowned experts from around the province, around the country, from internationally as well, who are speaking out against this dam for agricultural reasons, for economic reasons, for cultural reasons, with very sound, justified, researched arguments. And we don't hear even acknowledgement from government that they've received these messages, despite the fact that they're covered publicly through the media, through national media, and they just continue to turn a deaf ear and plow through with their plans for construction. It's absolutely astounding. This project is not necessary. The former chair of the Joint Review Panel on Site C came forward and said that this project is not needed on the timeline set forward. He recommended for several reasons that the British Columbia Utilities Commission do a thorough assessment of the need for this project, the cost, the forecasted energy demand, and yet even though he came forward after the government made a decision to proceed on this dam, the government's still not listening. They're not batting an eye. And this fellow has a PhD in economics, and he said for the government to proceed without a more thorough analysis of these items is absolutely a dereliction of duty.
So it was a good day. Did everybody see those eagles? Yeah. I forgot to mention this when we launched at the halfway. There's been an eagle nest there for as long as I can remember. Somebody last year went and cut down that cottonwood tree and knocked that eagle nest down. We've seen those eagles going back there looking for that nest, and they've been sitting in the trees around there. There's something like 38 eagles nests along this strip of the river. One of the first things that BC Hydro has to do is knock them all down and get rid of them. This is the 10th year we've done this. And if BC Hydro and BC have their way, we won't do this anymore.
Only through our collective efforts, working together in absolute solidarity, as we have in the last several years, that will stop this dam. We need to get out in the public domain to show public evidence that this project must absolutely not happen. We are prepared to do whatever is necessary to ensure this project never happens. We are already in the courts. There's several lawsuits. We were just in Vancouver in front of the Greater Vancouver Regional District. There are, I believe, 38 municipal leaders and politicians that sit at that table. They voted 35 in favor of the resolution that demands the Premier defer this project, places a moratorium on it for 2 years until it goes before the BC Utilities Commission.
Today is a day we're going to all remember for a long, long time. Beautiful river, beautiful land, beautiful people. I'd like to invite to the stage now Dr. David Suzuki.
Well, I'm delighted to have this opportunity to share a few ideas with you. Thank you very much for spending the beautiful day out here with us. I want to thank the Treaty 8 people for sharing their land with us and for inviting us to take part in this happy occasion. What I want to do is give you a few ideas that I presented at the AFN meeting in Montreal on Thursday. But before I begin, let me say that I breathe the air of this place, I've drunk your water, I've eaten your food, and I have many happy memories of this day that I will take back. I will take a part of this valley, a part of this river, and a part of you back with me when I go back to Vancouver. Before I get the foundation, David Suzuki Foundation, into any trouble, let me say that I speak today as a private individual, not on behalf of any organization, any political party, or any group. I'm here today speaking primarily as an elder. And to our non-Indigenous friends, I think you should understand elders play a very special role in society. We no longer have to kiss anybody's ass for a promotion, a job, or a raise. We don't have to play that game. We don't run after money or fame or power. That's all behind us. We can now speak the truth from our hearts. If that offends people, that's their problem, not ours. We are at an absolutely critical moment in the history of life on this planet. We, human beings, have become a powerful force of nature, and we are now the main factor that is changing the properties of the planet on a geological scale. We are now the most numerous mammal on Earth. There are more of us than any species of rat or rabbit or mouse, and just the fact of our existence means it takes a lot of air, water, and land just to keep us alive. So we have a huge ecological footprint. But we're not like rabbits or rats or mice. We have an enormous amount of technology used on our behalf to extract resources virtually anywhere on the planet. And that amplifies our ecological impact. And then we love to shop. We love consumption. My mom and dad came through the Great Depression, and because of that experience, they taught us you have to work hard for money to buy the things you need. Not the things you want, the things you need. You don't run after money as if having more stuff or bigger cars makes you a better, more important person. But we're way past running after our needs. We now run after our wants. And there's no end to what we want. And all of what we want comes out of Mother Earth and goes back into it when we're finished with it. And that amplifies again our ecological footprint, and we have a global economy that exploits the entire planet as a source of raw materials for its activities. And when you add that all together, our numbers, our technology, our consumption, and our global economy, we have become a force as has never existed on this planet. That's why scientists today refer to this as the Anthropocene epoch, the moment in geological time when human beings have become the dominant factor altering the physical, chemical, and biological properties of the Earth. But in the process, we are undermining the very things that keep us alive. How did we get to this point? My grandparents emigrated from Japan to Canada between 1902 and 1906. They were uneducated, they were unbelievably poor, they heard Canada offered opportunity. They knew that this was a country built on the racism, built on the backs of colonization of the indigenous people. Asians in the early 1900s, like black people, couldn't vote, couldn't buy property, couldn't go into many professions. This was a racist country, but they believed that they worked hard. They could buy land. To my grandparents, land was a critical thing. If there was anything on it, fish, trees, minerals, topsoil, exploit it, sell it, and make money. My mother and father were born and raised in Vancouver. Dad in 1909, my mother in 1911. And like all of the children of new immigrants at that time, not just in Canada, but in Africa and Australia and South America, everywhere, they had no grandparents or elders. Can you imagine? The first generation of children born in this country had no elders and no grandparents. They were all back in the old country. So they grew up with no roots in this country at all. And to them, they acquired the values of their parents, my grandparents. Work hard, make money, buy land. Land is your opportunity. And today, all over the world, we see a clash then. A clash that we're seeing played out here between those who have a sense of place, for many, like the First Nations, whose roots go back thousands of years, for whom there is nowhere else to go. This is their sacred home. A clash between that mindset and the mindset of the newcomers over the last 500 years, for whom that land is simply opportunity or a resource. And we forget the children's story about the goose that laid the golden egg. You remember the guy that owned the goose. Every day he got a golden egg. But he got greedy. He wanted all the eggs at once. So he killed the goose. And when he did so, he found out it was just a goose. And inside, there were no golden eggs. The goose, for us, is this beautiful valley, is the river, is the forest. That's our goose. But in the process of wanting everything now, we clear-cut our forests, we dam our rivers, we drill and we frack, all to try to get those golden eggs immediately. I was galvanized in 1962 when I read a book by a woman named Rachel Carson. The book was called Silent Spring, all about the unexpected effects of pesticides. When her book came out, there wasn't a single department of the environment anywhere on the planet. The word environment didn't mean in 1962 what it has come to mean today. But because of her book, Departments of the environment were set up at all levels of government around the world. Federal, provincial, municipal levels. We got laws passed to protect air, water, endangered species, and millions of hectares of land were set aside in reserves and parks. That was the huge result of the environmental movement that came about because of Rachel Carson's book. But when we won many of what we thought were victories. When was it, Adrian? You said that I came here at your invitation. 1981. I came here at the invitation of Adrian Peacock because you folks were fighting to stop a dam at Site C. And we thought we won it. We stopped that dam. The Americans wanted to bring super tankers with oil from the North Slope down to Seattle to refine it. David Anderson was the head of the Liberal Party in BC at that time when a Liberal Party meant a Liberal Party, not a Conservative Party, and he stopped those tankers coming along the BC coast. There were proposals to drill for oil in Hecate Strait, and we stopped that. Over and over again, environmentalists won victories, and 35 years later, guess what? We're fighting exactly the same battles all over again. What we thought were victories were not victories at all, because we fundamentally failed. We failed to shift the way we see our place on the planet. We didn't learn what First Nations people are trying to tell us in their opposition to the Enbridge pipeline. We haven't got the shift in the paradigm. And so 40 years later, we're fighting battles again. I'm done with fighting. I am not interested in fighting anymore, because when there's a fight, there's either a winner and a loser, or we compromise. We can't afford compromises. We can't afford to have losers any longer. And so my challenge then is to say, anyone, when we want to develop a place like this, we're not going to fight you. We want you to come and talk to us. What do we agree on? What's the point of fighting if we don't start with a fundamental agreement on what everyone's primary needs are? Otherwise, we're just negotiating up here without ever having come to some kind of bottom line, some kind of grounding in how our society is built. And so here's what I would suggest that we have to put out as a bedrock of our agreement. We live in a world that is shaped and constrained by laws of nature. That's what is reality, and there's nothing we can do about it. The science of physics tells us we cannot build a rocket that will go faster than the speed of light. And everybody understands that. You don't hear any scientists saying, we've got to get a rocket that'll go 10 times the speed of light. That is a limit imposed by the cosmos. We know the law of gravity means you can't build an anti-gravity machine here on Earth. And the first and second laws of thermodynamics tell us you cannot build a perpetual motion machine. Those are laws of physics. We live with that. We accept it. Chemistry, it's the same. The atomic properties of the elements, diffusion constants, reaction rates, all tell us what kinds of chemical reactions we can take place in a test tube, what kinds of molecules we can synthesize. We know that. Chemistry tells us and constrains what we can do, and we live with that. And biology, it's exactly the same. Biology tells you there is a maximum number of any species that can exist within an ecosystem or habitat. That's called the carrying capacity of the habitat or of the ecosystem. Now, we're not like most plants or animals. We're not bound to specific ecosystems, but our habitat is the biosphere. And there is a limit to how many people can be maintained indefinitely within the biosphere. And if everybody wants to live the way we do in Canada, we are way past the carrying capacity of the biosphere. If you want to live like a Bangladeshi or a Somalian, we may be able to tolerate a few more people. But we are at the real limits of what Mother Earth can sustain. That's dictated by basic biology. Biology also tells us we are animals. And man, I gave a talk in Austin, Texas many years ago. There were a lot of kids in the audience, and I said, now kids, if you remember one thing from my lecture, remember we are animals. Man, did their parents get pissed off at me. Don't you call my daughter an animal. We're human beings. And my answer to that is the one Paul Ehrlich gives. Madam, if you're not an animal, are you a plant? We are animals. And as animals, biology dictates our most fundamental needs. If we don't have air for 3 minutes, we're dead. We don't even think about that. Do you realize what a fine line? That's why people drown all the time. We need air every minute of our lives. If you don't have air for 3 minutes, you're dead. If you have to breathe polluted air, you're sick. So surely everyone, the CEO of energy companies, everyone has to agree the basic need for all humanity is clean air. That has got to be a bedrock of what we are. We are an animal with intelligence. We know we depend on air. That is a fundamental thing we protect. And then every one of us is 60 to 70% water by weight. We're basically a big blob of water with enough thickener added so we don't dribble away on the floor. We're a big blob of water. And of course our bodies leak water. It comes out of our skin and our eyes and our mouth and our crotch. We lose water all the time. So we have to keep topping up. If you don't top up for 4 to 6 days, you're dead. We need water all the time. And if you drink polluted water, you're sick. So can we not agree, everyone, that clean water has got to be our absolute highest priority along with clean air? And then, if we don't have food for 4 to 6 weeks, we're dead. If we eat contaminated food, and most of our food comes from the soil, we're sick. So can we not add food and soil to air and water as something that we have to have clean and the foundation of the way we live? And finally, all of the energy that we need to move and grow and reproduce, all of that energy in our bodies is sunlight. Sunlight captured by plants in photosynthesis, converted into chemical energy, and then we get that energy by eating plants or eating animals that eat the plants, and we store that energy in our bodies. And when we need to move or use energy, we burn those molecules and release the energy of the sun back into our bodies. So photosynthesis is our primary energy source, must be at the base of what we protect. And then the miracle to me, the miracle of life on this earth, is that those fundamental elements that indigenous people call the 4 sacred elements, earth, air, fire, and water, those elements are created, are cleansed, are replenished by the web of living things around the world. It's the plants and animals that cleanse or make possible our use of clean air, clean water, clean soil, and clean energy. That is the miracle of life. And those animals and plants are what indigenous people have taught me are our relatives. They're not resources. They're our relatives. And we are grateful to our relatives that they give their lives in order for us to live. And to me, those have got to be the foundation then of the way that we live. If we can't all agree that those 4 elements, earth, air, wind, and earth, air, fire, and water, if we can't all agree that our relatives, our kin, other species and animals are essential to our survival, then how on earth are we ever going to decide on the fate of the Peace River or on fracking or clear cutting or any of these other things? We cannot go on fighting until we all agree as a species. Those are the foundation of the way that we live. So that's where I'm coming from now. Our problem is that we no longer acknowledge the basic rules and principles of biology. We think we're so smart. We think that we're so important, that what we do and invent are more important than the laws of nature. We have a prime minister who for 10 years has said we can't do anything about reducing greenhouse gas emissions. That's crazy economics that will destroy the economy. What the hell? He's raising the economy above the very air that keeps us alive, and we keep electing this guy to office? What the hell is going on? This is a man who has childhood asthma. Anyone with asthma knows whatever you put into the air, you put into yourself. And yet he thinks the economy comes before the very air that we depend on. We do other things. We draw lines around our property, around our cities, our provinces, our countries. And boy, did we take those boundaries seriously. We will kill and die to protect those boundaries. But you know what? Nature couldn't give two hoots about human borders. And yet we think that we can manage the rest of creation using within the limits of the boundaries that we draw. Take grizzly bears. In the United States, a grizzly bear is protected as an endangered species. If it goes 30 yards across the border into Canada, it can be shot for sport. How the hell are we managing the grizzly as a species? Ask any Alaskan whether the salmon born in Canadian waters that go out through the Panhandle and up Alaskan coast, who do they belong to? Then they go along the coast of Russia and Japan, and we try to manage the salmon as if when they're in our territory, they belong to us. Birds come from South America to the Arctic. Whose birds are they? How do we manage them? How do we manage monarch butterflies that go from Ontario down into Mexico? It's absurd to think that our boundaries matter at all. And we were informed about that. When the fire broke out at Chernobyl in Russia, who told us that there had been an accident in the Ukraine? It was the Swedes. The Swedes detected a huge pulse of radiation in the air above their country. Air doesn't stay within national boundaries. How on earth can we manage the atmosphere and climate change if we're all looking at the atmosphere through the lenses of our 200 and whatever countries that are going to gather in Paris this December? It's crazy. We invent other ideas. We call them capitalism. We call them economics. We call them corporations and markets. Just ask one of these neoliberal economists. You just mention the word market, and you'll see their eyes go funny, and they just look up and, oh, the market, praise the market, bow down before the market, free the market, let the market do its thing. What the hell? We invented the market. It's not a thing out there that exists. It's a human invention. Do you believe in dragons anymore? We once used to worry that dragons got mad and we'd give them jewels and gold and sacrifice virgins and no more virgins, but now nobody believes in dragons. Nobody would give jewels or gold for a dragon. But do you think a market is something? But read the paper. Don't listen to me, read the paper. Oh, market's not looking too good today. And you think the market is a thing with a cold compact on its head going, I feel shitty today. You know, oh, we better do something to get that market going. What, this is madness. We invented it. And yet what we try to do is shoehorn nature into our agenda. We need energy, then damn the bloody river because we need the energy. We don't ask it the other way. We need energy. How can we get energy without disturbing Mother Earth, without disturbing our river or this valley? We do it the wrong way. So this is a challenge then. We've got to, instead of trying to force nature into our economic or political or social agendas, we've got to create or shoehorn ourselves to fit with nature's laws and nature's needs. And that is the shift in the paradigm that we failed to make when the dam at Site C was defeated. way back in the 1980s. And this is a challenge now. It's not just about, is that dam going to be built? It's about how on earth are we going to live on this planet? Are we going to continue to try to subdue the earth to serve us? Or are we going to recognize how we gain our lives, our livelihood, and our well-being? So I want to thank the First Nations. I want to thank the farmers in the valley. I want to thank the people whose presence here in this area goes back generations. Thank you for hanging on to this place. Thank you for sharing your knowledge about this place and inviting us and welcoming us into your place, because your battle is everyone's battle. It's our battle in Vancouver. And thank you to all the non-Indigenous people who don't necessarily live in this valley. Thank you for recognizing that this is every person's battle and coming here to show your support. That dam must not go through. Thank you.